Dana puts $500 into an index fund every single month. Nothing fancy. No stock picking, no timing the market. Just $500 on autopilot for 30 years straight. By year 30, Dana's personally put in $180,000. The account's worth $915,372. That's not a typo. Stick with me. Here's how it actually happens, year by year. Year 1, $6,254 in the account. Dana put in $6,000 of that herself. Growth so far, $254. Genuinely not worth bragging about. Year 3, $20,576. Still basically all her own money, the market's only added about $2,576 on top. Year 5, $37,712. She's contributed $30,000 by now. Growth is $7,712, about 20% of the balance. Real progress, sure, but it still feels like Dana's doing all the heavy lifting herself. And honestly, this is exactly where people quit. The first 5 years of investing look almost identical to just stuffing cash in a jar. Slightly better, not exciting. Year 10, $96,757. She's put in $60,000. Growth's now $36,757, over a third of the whole balance. Year 12, $128,856. Growth's up to 44% of the account. And then year 15 hits, the actual milestone. Balance, $189,203. Dana's contributed $90,000. Growth has contributed $99,203. For the first time ever, the market has added more to this account than Dana has. Halfway through the 30 years by contribution count. But the market's already outworking her. This is usually the point where people wish they'd started sooner, which, funny enough, is basically what this whole channel is about. Subscribe if you'd rather hear that now instead of in year 10. Year 20, $333,943. Dana's own contributions, $120,000. That means 64% of this account, nearly 2/3, is pure growth. Money that came from nowhere but time. Year 25, $560,561. Contributions, $150,000. Growth, $410,561. At this point, her original $500 a month habit has generated almost 3 times as much in market growth as she ever put in with her own hands. The gap isn't closing, it's accelerating. Year 30. Final number, $915,372. Total she ever put in, across 3 straight decades, $180,000. Total growth, $735,372. Dana's own money, every single $500 deposit, every month for 30 years, makes up less than a fifth of the final account. The other 80%, over $700,000 to $35,000, came from compounding, alone. She's $84,628 short of $1 million. On a habit most people could start literally tomorrow. Here's what the year-by-year view makes obvious that a single $915,372 headline never does. The first 10 years are the hardest, and they look the least rewarding by far. Dana put in a third of her entire lifetime contributions in that first decade alone, and had almost nothing to show for it beyond her own deposits. The payoff isn't spread evenly across 30 years. It's backloaded dramatically. The last 10 years alone add more growth than the first 20 combined, which means the single most important year in this whole story isn't year 30, it's year 1. Because every year Dana delays starting pushes the entire curve back and shrinks the final number by way more than people expect. 2 honest ones. First, 9% is a long-run historical average for the US stock market. Not a promise. Some years, it's down 20%. Some years, up 25%. This smooth curve is a simplification of a much bumpier real ride. Second, this ignores taxes and inflation. In a taxable account, some of that growth gets taxed along the way. And $915,372 in 30 years won't buy what $915,372 buys today. Though even adjusted for typical inflation, the real purchasing power still lands well into six figures. Neither caveat kills the lesson, it just adjusts the number. The shape of the curve stays exactly the same. $500 a month doesn't feel like much. For the first 5 years, it won't look like much either. But the entire point of this video is that the money you put in stops being the main character somewhere around year 15, and after that, time does more of the work than you ever will. The only input that actually matters is starting. Not the amount, not the timing. Just starting. If you want to see what this looks like at $1,000 a month instead of $500, and the number's bigger than you'd think, that one's coming. Subscribe so it actually shows up in your feed.